Welcome to The Business Coach, a show in which you out help entrepreneurs better their businesses. My name is Ian Dennis, and tonight on the show I'm quite excited because I'm hosting an entrepreneur who was literally saw him on the airwaves as a musician. Right now I'm speaking to him as an entrepreneur. I'm speaking about SK Blue, better known as Samuel Courier. I just knew his name today. But before we get to start this particular conversation, here's a brief bio of Samuel Courier. Samuel Courier, better known as SK Blue, is a creative entrepreneur who creates solutions inspired by need. He's the managing director and founder of Gold Avenue Africa Limited, a private equity firm that builds and invests in creative high-growth businesses and opportunities with a transformative impact. His journey started out as a musician, music and TV producer, then ventured fully into entrepreneurship. Over the last 18 years, he has built and successfully exited deals through a diverse investment portfolio in media and entertainment, financial services, tech, and private capital placement. Samuel, it's so weird calling you Samuel.
Yeah, man.
I grew up listening to you.
Hey, Asante, man. I'm telling you, Yani, Samuel is one of those. Yeah. It's very rare to get someone who's calling me Samuel.
But now, right now, the title you hold, Mr. CEO, Mr. Founder, you have to be called Samuel. SK Blue is for another life.
I have to.
All right. So the interesting thing, you're one of the pioneer musicians in the gospel industry. You had hits back in the day, Pamela being one of the famous songs. Take me through your transition from being a musician and an artist to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, my journey has been quite interesting. So I started out as a musician, but the truth is I've been looking at myself as a communicator who wants to be remembered as a thinker who made impact. And when you look at it that way, then you see that I've been doing the same thing but in different formats. So my starting point in communicating was music. Now just being able to communicate as a musician, as a songwriter, and crossing over, I went into production. So at first, music production. And music production was simply because it was too expensive to produce.
Yeah.
So I thought probably the easiest I would do.
All right, so I was going through your story, and one of your aha moments was that there's a point you're nominated for an award in the United States. And then after performing during the award, you had some people approach you and offer you $3 million. Take me through that particular moment and what exactly triggered you.
Yeah, so that was when I was a musician. I was doing dancehall and reggae. So I had all these long dreadlocks and we were nominated. So Ralton and myself were nominated to go to American Gospel Music Awards.
Which year was that?
2004 to 2005. Yeah. So going to that award, so we did our thing, and much later there were a few labels there, and so one label was keen to sign me, and I stayed with the label president and his family for a long time. So I stayed with them for about 7 months. So that whole 7 months, we were basically just doing everything production, everything to do with being onboarded onto their label, but they had one condition. So the condition was that I leave gospel and I go secular. So I saw highs that were too high, all at the same time lows that were too low. And that was a huge conflict that I didn't know how to work with at that particular time. So it was really hard because at the end of it all, I had to turn it down.
$3 million.
Most popular thing at that particular point, especially even to my friends and family.
Yeah. Right. So take me through now your transition, and because you came back to Kenya and you ventured into music production. You're one of the pioneer producers. I saw that you did various pioneer shows, gospel shows. There was Music Garage. Take me through that particular period of time. How exactly you went into production?
Coming back home, it was interesting because coming back home, now my eyes were opened. You know, after being out there for so long, you're just thinking of all the opportunities that you took for granted while you're at home. So coming back, I was on fire. I was thinking, I have to go in and do production, go TV. And so coming back, we we decided to start aggressively pushing our music on TV. But there was a problem because at that time there were only cartels and we wouldn't get our music played. So we decided, okay, if they won't play our songs, then probably it's about time to go on TV. And we started our first show. Interestingly, as we did that show, we didn't know that people get paid to be on TV. We didn't know that people get paid to produce content. So we produced content for like almost 2 years. Then the TV station kept asking, how is it that you're not sending your invoice? And I'm thinking, what invoice? See, I thought you understand that we produced the show. So they were saying, invoice to pay you for the show. They were like, Allah, these things are normally paid. So from there, we just blew up because we grew our shows and we had 1,000 hours of content per month in 8 different channels. And yeah, we just had a lot of content out there. And the transition from content now to business was content developers were not getting loans from banks. And the reason why they needed loans is because they were being paid 90 days in arrears, 100 days in arrears. So we got to a point where we just needed someone to just believe in us, give us some cash so that we pay our army of producers and keep living before we get paid. But no one would touch us. That's the time we decided to start a lending house. We had a lending house where we were lending now to producers, TV producers, radio producers, and musicians.
So take me through your journey as
all
to
we needed to do. Yeah.
I want you to take me through your journey as to how exactly you now moved from just being a producer to starting your own lending house. How exactly do you source for capital? What was the process like for you setting it up, and why did you decide to do it with your fellow producers?
Yeah, actually we did it purely from need because no one would touch us and the banks wouldn't touch us. We tried to talk to the banks and the banks were saying, sasa nyinyi, if you default, what will we auction? Tutachota sauti zenyu. So we realized that these guys will not touch us. We tried to look around and then we realized something interesting, that different producers were getting auctioned because they were trying to get some money from what they do. But then since they were doing 30, 90, 100-day delays, they used to get auctioned. So we realized that, okay, this is not a one-person problem, it's an industry problem. So I remember we started with 100,000 Kenyan.
Yeah.
And we lent it out. It came back, we lent it out again, and we realized, okay, it's time to structure this thing. So we called consultants, they structured the business for us, and we opened our doors for the very first time to private investors. And we told them, hey, yeah.
And one of the interesting things I found out is that you just didn't start it by yourself. You started out with your wife.
Yes. So
because it's quite interesting. Yes.
I kept telling her at that point she was working in an insurance company. So I was telling her, an insurance company is more or less like a financial institution. What if you quit your job that side, come on this side and be the CEO of this lending house?
Yeah.
We used to call it Time Capital.
Yeah.
And our slogan was, we buy you time. Well, for a long time she lingered me.
Yeah.
Until one day she just said, okay, I've seen you do a few things. Some of them I don't understand, but yet they work. So I'll give it a try. So she came on board. So when she came on board, we had 10,000 to put as capital for the business. So we bought her a seat and a table, and 10,000 was over. So I kept asking, so how do you feel that you're the CEO of this thing? But she kept saying, I feel unemployed. Yeah.
And
so that's how we started.
And the interesting thing that I got to find out was that you scaled this particular company to the point you exited. Take me through the process. How exactly did you now scale the business? Because you just started out with 100,000. How long did you scale it up, and at what point did you agree to or decide to sell it out?
Yeah, so we basically started with 100 Gs. So we lent it, it came back, we lent it, we realized we need to structure the business so that now we may be able to attract private investors. And we structured the business, and we realized that there was a huge demand. We used to have a waiting list of people who wanted to lend money, producers and musicians, who wanted to borrow money from us. And we had a waiting list of minimum 200 per day.
Just your fellow musicians in the industry?
Yeah, musicians and producers in the industry. So we started sitting down with friends, and started sitting down with investors and telling them, hey, there is a principle that says never waste a good crisis, because it carries the best opportunity. We have a crisis in our hands, and that's in the music industry and the production as well space, where all these people are getting paid. And we realized the people that we had talked to combined were being paid about 100 million Kenyan, $1 million. But they were all getting auctioned, they were all getting issues with their landlords and all. And we basically presented this opportunity to different investors. And we just started by friends, family members, who introduced us to other people who were interested. And they started now slowly placing in their monies to that particular business. So we started growing. So 100,000 became $1 million bob. Slowly by slowly, 1 million became 10. It grew, it became 20. But we were still running out of money because of the huge demand that we were facing.
All right.
So we still had waiting lists, and we just couldn't.
So the business just ballooned.
Yeah?
The business just ballooned. But on that particular point, I want us to take a small break, because I know the story is quite interesting. We just have to take a short commercial break. So don't touch that dial, but you can tune in, or rather you can tune into this particular conversation through the social media platforms. #KTN Business Coach, @Ian Dennis Network, @KTN Home. So I'll see you after the break.